And if the night is burning, I will cover my eyes for...
Hello friends, I'm the Dyslexic Cosplayer, and it's time we take a look at Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. So, I've made a primer video, and I'm assuming everybody has seen that before watching this, mostly just to help everybody be up to date and not make the video longer than need be. Otherwise, let's get on to it. Here is Andromeda. We open aboard the Andromeda Ascendant as they ready for battle. And we get introduced to her captain doing something incredibly dangerous and stupid. Hopefully nobody's coming up that ladder, but I guess when you're in charge you get to show off like that, using an anti-gravity system to help slow himself down.
I wish you wouldn't do that. What if your anti-gravity harness failed and I couldn't catch you in time?
Oh, Andromeda, you wouldn't let that happen. Otherwise you'd have to break in a new captain. Look, Kevin, I know you used to play Hercules, but you're not actually immortal on this show. Fortunately, this was all an exercise by Rade, Dylan's second in command. Not only is Rade a Nietzschean, but he's also Dylan's best man at his upcoming wedding. You know, I can't wait to hear your toast at my wedding. To Dylan and Sarah, I hope you have a long and happy life together. Unless you die.
Nietzscheans don't believe in optimism. It inhibits survival.
You guys must be great at parties. Well, it's at that point that Andromeda informs them that stuff is going sideways. Unexpectedly, a star in the vicinity has decided to go supernova, so all the civilians are begging for assistance, which the Andromeda is obliged to provide. So thanks to the slipstream drive, they're able to get there in a matter of moments. Fortunately, much like Babylon 5, Andromeda uses the CGI to a bare minimum, which helps keep it looking fresh. However, as they get to the system, they discover that there are a bunch of Nietzschean ships all prepared to leave, until they start firing on Andromeda and it becomes clear that this is something of an ambush. Another refreshing element of the series is the fact that the space combat is much more grounded than your typical Star Trek series or even Star Wars, using more maneuverable means of attack like rockets, missiles, and drones. And as we'll see later, some species use even more creative ways to fight. After repeated suggestions from Rade to confine all of the Nietzscheans to the brig, including himself because they may be in league with these traitors, Dylan finally takes the suggestion to heart. Unfortunately, the battle's not going well. Andromeda's taking quite the pounding from the Nietzscheans, not helped by the fact the black hole's making things complicated. So, Dylan, in an act of desperation to try and save his crew and warn the Commonwealth of the situation, orders everyone to the lifeboats, intent on staying behind himself to continue the fight and buy them as much time as possible. He's joined by his disobedient pilot, Refractions of Dawn. I love Refractions of Dawn. They are a member of the fan species and all insect culture that we get to see a few more times throughout the series. They're just so much fun for the brief time they're in the show. I ordered you to abandon ship. Let the record show that First Lieutenant Refractions of Dawn respectfully refuses to comply. If we survive this, you can court-martial me. Ha! You're one stubborn bug. Unfortunately, as Rade is being escorted to the bridge, it becomes very clear that he is in fact also one of the traitorous Nietzscheans that has turned against the Commonwealth. Dylan's strategy is to try and lure the Nietzscheans as close to the black hole as possible so they can hopefully be sucked inside of the black hole and ultimately destroyed by its gravity well. Unfortunately, the plan is hindered about halfway through when Rade marches up onto the bridge and ends up killing Refractions of Dawn, and he and Dylan Hunt have a firefight on the bridge of Andromeda. The interaction between Dylan and Rade is almost Shakespearean, as Rade tells Dylan he repeatedly tried to warn him that this was coming, hence why they were always running so many drills. And even though they're friends, that won't stop him from doing what he believes is necessary. During the fight, we finally get an explanation as to what's going on. The Nietzschean Empire has finally decided that the Treaty of Antares leaves them vulnerable to an attack by the Magog, and so have decided to destroy the Commonwealth and fend for themselves, since the Commonwealth's views are antithetical to that of the Nietzschean Empire at this point. During the fight, both Dylan and Rade wind up becoming disarmed and end up resorting to hand-to-hand combat. All the while, the Andromeda is slowly slipping into the event horizon of the black hole, which causes time itself to behave a little strangely, as it's being sucked into the black hole faster than the ship, apparently. But in spite of the slow motion, Dylan and Rade finally manage to retrieve their guns, and Dylan lands a kill shot, killing Rade, just as the Andromeda slips into the event horizon proper, and time itself basically stops on board the ship. In a great example of show don't tell, we can see that many years have finally passed before anyone returns to the system in search of the Andromeda Ascendant. This is the Eureka Maru. These are basically Gene Roddenberry's equivalent of the Firefly crew. Let's see, we have Harper, the engineer, Rebecca Valentine, captain and pilot, Trance Gemini, the ship's doctor, and Rev Bev. He's the ship's holy man and general helper. Rev is interesting. He's a Magog who's part of a religion called Wayism.
Do you know the way?
It physically hurts me to have to include this meme. We'll get into Wayism later since there's some good episodes all about Rev that get into it, but let's just safely say for the time being, he's one of the few Magog that isn't planning on leaving its eggs inside of you. The Eureka Maru has come here in search of the legendary Andromeda in hopes of managing to pull it out of the black hole as part of a salvage operation on behalf of some crazy dictator, who is planning to pay them stupid gobs of money.
That is if we're able to pull it away from the black hole.
Brance, have you been in the engine room lately?
No, it's disgusting back there.
Thank you, but take my word for it. Getting that puppy loose will not be a problem. The only thing we gotta worry about is how we're gonna spend all that money. I both love and hate Harper sometimes. In a nice little bonding moment, we find out what everybody plans on doing with the money once they get it. Becca Valentine's looking to try and buy off all of her debts so that she can own her ship outright. Harper plans to live it up in the life of luxury, and Rev intends to spend it on humanitarian efforts in his home system. Since Wayism is all about venerating life, and the only way for a Magog to be born is by taking life, it's mostly a form of penance for him. This little operation is being covered by Gerontex, a Nightsider, which are basically a race of rodent people, and you can see they put a lot of effort into hiding his makeup in these early episodes, because it really is pretty sad. I guess all the money had to go to making Rev look convincing. Before they begin, they have to jettison the cargo hold, which is attached to the outside of the ship to make sure they're light enough they won't get sucked in. Gerontex says he has a few things to take care of, so disappears briefly. That's something involving him going into the cargo hold, which is probably not a good sign. And well, it turns out that thing he brought on board was a bunch of cryopods. Wait. And there's a cryopod? I'm seriously starting to get the idea that Joss Whedon stole this for Firefly. But after recycling basically the same shot of the Eureka Maru approaching Andromeda and engaging in some questionable physics, I'm really not sure how the tow cables don't get sucked into the black hole or how you can overcome its gravity well, but they're able to get it free. Which means back aboard the Andromeda, time begins to flow normally. And so they're left with the interesting question of what happened and what's going on. Since Andromeda was somehow able to have a stable orbit on the edge of the black hole, they weren't affected by the passage of time. But that doesn't mean it's not 300 years later. Naturally, Dylan has some questions. Sarah? My folks? The rest of the crew?
Everyone we know, our entire world, is gone.
Everybody's dead, Dave. What, Todd Hunter? Everybody's dead, Dave. Peterson isn't, is he? Everybody's dead, Dave. Not Chen. Oh, Bennett, yes, Chen's dead. Everybody's dead, Dave. I mean, yes, I reference pop cultural phenomena Red Dwarf, but Kevin Sorbo's acting here is really good. Meanwhile, after retrieving the Eureka Maru's cargo hold with the defrosting Nietzschean inside, they land aboard the Andromeda and go about to explore the ship properly, making sure they abide by safety procedures as if this isn't their 100th time going on board a spaceship. But of course, the ship they find is completely empty. Finding it in remarkably good shape for 300 years trapped on the edge of a black hole, they decide to go about trying to restart the computer and regain control of the ship enough that they can fly it to their buyer. Something that very much appeals to Gerontex since he wants to make the money as fast as possible, and they can't do that without the ship. As they begin exploring the Andromeda, Dylan and Andromeda are studying the people who are trespassing on board their ship, utterly baffled by what they end up discovering. Mainly the fact that they're not only working with the Magog, something that must seem utterly inconceivable after the war wrapped up, but also the fact that Harper seems to be suffering from an incredibly deadly skin condition that the Commonwealth eradicated 200 years ago. Well, I guess 500 years ago, what with the whole time dilation thing, but whatever. So, Dylan decides to make it clear to them that they are not allowed to have free run of his ship. Finding everything you need?
Bro, who the hell are you?
No. It's who the hell are you and what are you doing on my ship? Which lets Dylan be clued in on the fact they intend to salvage the Andromeda because the Commonwealth lost the war to the Nietzscheans 200 years ago. In spite of confirming Dylan's worst fears, he orders them to all get off of the ship, since it still belongs to him and Andromeda. Harper makes sure to relay the message to everybody else.
Lenya, the guy's huge. Like some kind of Greek god or something.
Hey, only I'm allowed to make Hercules the Legendary Journey jokes on this show, bud. Undeterred by that, Becca thinks they can maybe make a stand. However, that's when Dylan decides to get on the intercom and make it very clear that he is aware they're there and that they are not welcome. He doesn't want to have to kill them, but he will make sure they get off of his ship. Jaren Tex is not amused by this premise and had planned for such an event, so brought a bunch of mercenaries aboard. And it's here we meet Tyr Anasazi, the greatest badass in sci-fi history in my personal opinion. What does this mean for the future of the series? What's going to happen in the next episode? Well, you'll find out next time. Hello, people of Earth. My name is Captain Dylan Hunt of the High Guard ship Andromeda. I've been frozen for 2,000 years and I have to learn everything there is to learn about this current day and age in which I live, but fortunately I have these wonderful reviews to help make that a lot easier. If you like the work that this dyslexic cosplayer is doing, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to his channel. Also check out some of the other series that he's working on, as well as the original content that he's been creating, here and over on his Patreon page, links to which can be found in the description below, whatever that means. And now some special thanks from my patrons on Patreon. Drawn by Kenna, Jen Goodnight, Lucy Westera, Norm DePlume. Thank you all so much for your contributions and for making all of this possible.